everyone. Hope you all are doing well and getting knowledge from our sessions with Dr. Sidhu, who is a researcher, licensed and certified AP chemistry teacher, an educationist, and an academician in America. In our last session, Dr. Anu taught us about chemical foundation, atoms, elements, and ions. And today we will continue the discussion on the same topic. Hello, Dr. Anu, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm excited to be with you today.
So we are here again with another excited discussion about chemical foundations. So Dr. Sidhu, please tell us about why students need to learn the symbols of elements.
Yes, very interesting question. The students, they need to learn about the symbols of chemical elements. In the previous session, if you remember, we talked about elements, how they were discovered, how many elements we have, which are naturally occurring. There are 92 elements which are naturally occurring and rest of our man-made elements. Now, why students need to know about the symbols of elements is very important. Look, it is just like, for example, what do you think you need if you need to learn any new language? You know what? You really need to know the letters of the alphabets. Once you know to read and write the alphabets, then you are comfortable learning about that language. Like, for example, for English, you really need to know the letters A, B, C, D, and so on to read and write English language, right? Similarly, if a student wants to read and write chemistry, student needs to learn about the symbols of chemical elements. And it is not just because the student wants to read and write about chemistry. It is more about feeling that element also. That is also very important. Look, again, I'm going to give you one non-chemical example here. Like, for example, if I call you like, hey, girl with this brown suit, can you just talk to me? Can you come here? You won't be in my comfort zone, right? You'll say, okay, she's just, giving me, like, she's calling me by using that word, like, hey, girl with a blue suit or with a brown suit, right? But if I say, hey, Komal, how are you? Will you come here? I need to talk to you. Then you feel that connection, that because I used your name. So I always tell my students this thing, that it's must to use the name of the elements, and you have to learn the symbols of the element. Like, for example, if the student is writing H2 plus O2 gives you H2O, it's better to say this way: hydrogen gas reacts with oxygen gas to give water molecule, because there is name to the elements and to the compounds. So we must call the elements and the compounds with their name, and we must write the proper symbols for the elements and the compounds. So it is very, very important to memorize, to know about the symbols of the elements, chemical elements. It's really important.
Okay, that's interesting. Please share how these symbols of elements students can memorize.
So there are many ways to do that. One thing is, of course, we have our textbook, and we need to practice, like students need to practice about that. Another way is, like, for example, if the students are able to learn using some quotes or some jokes. Like, for example, if I say to you today, Komal, you are full of beryllium, gold, and titanium. So it is because you are beautiful. So BE for beryllium, TI for titanium, and AU is for gold. So all three, they are in that word beautiful, right? So these are the various ways the students can talk among each other, and they can make up some jokes and some quotes to learn about the elements. So elements are basically, they are given the Latin words or the Greek words. Like, for example, Orium. Orium is the word which is used for like shiny dawn. And that is used for the symbol for gold, that is AU. Similarly, there is a Latin word with the name of natrium, and natrium is used for sodium. So symbol for sodium is Na. So another way is like, for example, I just came across with that joke, like, you know what, hydrogen and oxygen, sorry, oxygen and hydrogen, they went on a date. How did it go? It went okay. O means oxygen and K means potassium. So that way, we are able to learn it. So it's interesting also when the students are able to memorize. So that's the technique. And of course, when you are using it, when you are practicing, the students are practicing, so they are able to memorize a lot of stuff. But yes, it is always in a fun manner, they are able to memorize that. So I don't think the students should take a lot of panic, a lot of stress memorizing them. But yes, slowly and slowly, they can memorize these elements. And when they know the history about that, like lead is known as plumbers because in Greek letter it is called plumbers. Why we have Cl for chlorine and I for iodine as a symbol? Because of their color, the color of the chlorine or iodine. So we have those symbols. So there is a brief, sometimes there is a brief story about the symbols of the elements as such.
It's very fascinating to see that the symbols, how can it create a bond and a connection.
Yes, look, I just remember one more example. Today, fluorine, uranium, and nitrogen had a blast because they are fun to be together. So F means fluorine, U means uranium, and N means nitrogen. So slowly and slowly, the students are able to memorize this.
Yes, eventually you will memorize it once you get the hold of it. It's very interesting. So, Dr. Sidhu, please tell us about Dalton's atomic theory.
Yes. So Dalton, actually, he was an English teacher. And he was fascinated by the concept of atom. So the concept of atom was given by a very great philosopher with the name of Democritus, because Democritus introduced the word atomos. Atomos means which is indivisible. So according to that philosopher, like he said that matter is indivisible. So he used that word atomos. So English teacher, this Dalton, he was very much fascinated about this idea of composition of the matter. That what is this atomos? It means matter is indivisible. Look, being an English teacher, he gave theory about atom, and that is not the first atomic theory. That is Dalton's atomic theory. So it has like 4 or 5 points, very main points. So the first point is atom is the smallest particle of this matter. Every matter is made up of atoms. So atom is the smallest particle. Second is atoms are indivisible. So atoms can neither be created nor destroyed. Third is atoms of an element, they are all alike. It means the properties of atoms of one element, they are all same. Fourth point is atoms of different elements are different. And of course, atoms of carbon will differ from the atoms of gold. Atoms of sodium will differ from the atoms of oxygen. So the atoms of different elements, of course, they will have different properties. And last but not the least, the fifth point is that the atoms of different elements, they combined in a fixed ratio by mass to give complex compounds. So the compounds are made of the atoms of different elements when they are combined in a definite ratio. So these are the 5 points for Dalton's atomic theory.
That was very interesting how an English teacher came up with this theory. So, Dr. Sidhu, do you have any questions for our viewers today?
There is no question as such, but it is my suggestion actually. As I told you, it is very, very important for the students to learn the symbols of the elements and their names also. So if the students, they open their textbook, which is recommended by their school teacher or by their institute or educational institute, so that will be great. And of course, the students need to have their study buddy so that they can talk and discuss a lot about these elements, so that becomes a second nature for the students to memorize those. Why I'm saying this thing is because in our next sessions, we'll talk about chemical compounds. Then we'll talk about ions. So for that, we really need to know the symbols of the elements and their name. That's why I'm stressing a lot upon this part that the students, they really need to open their textbook and to memorize as much as possible about the symbols of the elements.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sidhu. This was indeed another fun session where we got to know about different symbols, how they create a connection. And I really enjoyed it. Hope our viewers also enjoyed it.
And
Hope you guys.
Komal, one more thing. Did you like my jokes today
Yes, I
about
did.
symbols of the elements? I hope
Yes,
you
I
are
did.
able to memorize also, right?
Oh, I will. I surely will. I'll be able to memorize it very easily.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Sidhu. So hope you guys enjoyed and today's session and learned and benefited from Dr. Sidhu's, a bit of a witty knowledge about the chemical symbols. So we will come up with another sessions with Dr. Sidhu. Please like and subscribe to Dr. Sidhu's Academy and Outland Media on YouTube. This is Komal Saiz from Outland Media signing off.